Welcome to Pensive Series. Bryan Johnson made a decision at age 21 and never looked back. He told his family and friends that he would start a company and retire by age 30. In 2013, he sold his company, Braintree, an online and mobile payments provider, to eBay for $800 million in cash. 1 year later, he dedicated $100 million of his own capital to invest in entrepreneurs working toward quantum leap discoveries that promised to rewrite the operating systems of life. That marked the beginning of the OS Fund. Since then, Johnson has been meeting with and investing in visionary scientists and entrepreneurs working on some of humanity's greatest opportunities and challenges. Johnson is also an adventurer. He has climbed some of the highest peaks in the world, raced in the African desert, explored an active volcano, and built a snow cave in the Arctic. He is a pilot, the father of 3, and a children's book author. At a small cafe in Nolita, in the heart of New York, the entrepreneur and investor talks about his entrepreneurial journey and his goal of rewriting the operating systems of life.
So what's your objective with this article?
I'm really interested in understanding sort of how you operate and like what you care about and your mission, all these things. And you know, sometimes you watch interviews on TV and they ask questions like very temporary questions.
Yeah.
And I really like timeless questions where you can pass on wisdom.
I agree.
And we're like, because you know, you've done it in so many ways and there's sort of a system, you know? And like people like me and other young people, like, you know, you read articles like on Business Insider or Elite Daily and it's like the 7 things you have to do. But I think really like having a conversation with someone and talking about that is much better, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I prepared a few questions. So the first thing I wanted to ask was like, what is like an early influence in your life that has like shaped sort of your, your adult life?
The most influential one I think was when I was 21. I returned from Ecuador after volunteering down there for 2 years. I lived with people shackled by extreme poverty. It was such a moving experience. I came back to the States and I determined I wanted to spend my life trying to improve people's lives. And so it seemed crazy to me. I would trade time, 60 minutes of my time for $8.75 an hour and do that for a lifetime. I determined I wanted to become an entrepreneur, build a successful company, retire by 30, and then with abundance of resources and freedom of time, go out and try to be useful in the world.
Was there any moment, like a pivotal moment, where you said, like, "Oh yes, this is how going to define my life"?
Yeah, I mean, so at 21, I wrote it down. I told my family and friends that I wasn't going to work a normal job, but my whole life, retired at 65, I was going to go out, build this company, retire by 30, and do it. So I committed publicly to family and friends, and then I started my first company.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then, like, I'm really curious, what's like your mission now with the OS Fund? You know, like sort of like the big picture. Because I've read a lot on the website. It's like really amazing, but like sometimes you have a vision like that. You know, it's really difficult to just put on the website, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the thing I would describe. So I mean, the goal of the fund is to benefit the lives of billions of people for generations to come. Like that's the ultimate goal. But how I arrived at that is. So I determined I wanted to do this at 21, but then I had a decade or so to think about this before I actually accomplished it. And so I became intensely interested in science and technology, and specifically how our world was developed and what was going to become of the human species. And so I think the thing that's uniquely exciting about our time and place and arc of humanity is that we have these incredibly powerful tools of creation. So humanity has always built tools, and those tools have always defined us. So now if you take computer software, genomics, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, robotics, biology, we can literally program everything, our entire existence. And so there's nothing we can't program. And so the most pressing question in my mind is, what kind of world are we going to build? And so I'm investigating in companies who are building the tool sets, that the tools that will actually define humanity for the coming decades and centuries, like genomics, biology, artificial intelligence, robotics. Because these really will be the tools that determine what kind of world we build in the coming decades and centuries.
And like something that's such a big goal, how do you like structure that and like break it down so you don't like feel overwhelmed, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think, for example, like a good example of a tool-based company that makes sense to me is genomics. So using the power of genomics and then adding that like data like the metabiome and the phenotype data, and then using advanced machine learning to figure out how the body works. If we could radically extend healthy human life, so we basically would transform medicine and personalized therapeutics, and it would change the way we deal with human health. I mean, it could potentially be the biggest breakthrough we've had in human health. So that kind of tool set that allows us to explore radical extension of healthy human life.
And is that what gets you up in the morning, or is that something else too?
I mean, that too. I mean, like that's in genomics. I have another company in biology that's basically trying to make biology programmable, just like computer software is. The same thing, program, organisms. So all these different areas, biology, AI. So to me, I get up in the morning, I jump out of bed because I love what I'm doing, and these tools are incredibly powerful, and the future is just incredibly exciting.
Like the first hour of your day, what has the most impact for what you do?
I typically identify what I want to accomplish in a given day. That specific day.
Do you do that in the morning? Or?
Yeah. First thing when I wake up.
And do you have some other daily rituals or habits, that you kept throughout life, I guess?
I like to keep my life very fluid.
Okay.
So I like serendipity, and I like rolling through different ideas and possibilities. So while I have some structure with calls and whatever else and meetings, I generally try to keep free flow.
Balance between serendipity and planning.
Yeah, so I can jump into read a book, lose myself in a book for an hour, and refresh my mind and get into someone else's world.
Is there any book that you're likely to give out to young people?
So I do. I like Ernest Shackleton's Voyage. Because it chronicles someone who dared to do something incredibly audacious. And it's a story of survival and endurance, and fortitude. I've never read a story so compelling in terms of people surviving setback after setback.
And if you could have dinner with anyone in history, dead or alive, who would you choose?
Oh, that's a tough one.
It's if you don't have it's okay. What are some people that have influenced sort of your life, professionally maybe and also personally?
Yeah, influencers.
Yeah.
I read this book called A Good Man about Sarge Shriver. He served in the Johnson administration. He launched the Peace Corps, I think.
Okay.
And his son wrote a book about his father and what a remarkable man he was, about how good he was as a father, as a co-worker, as a partner. He just was this fantastic man. And I guess when I think about life, and I wonder, what will my children say about me? Right? Will I have contributed to their lives in meaningful ways? Will I have been a good friend? Will I have been loyal? Will I have worked on meaningful things? Will I have benefited society? So that book is a good model of a truly devoted man to the world, his family and others around him. So I find meaning in that.
And is there any principle that you hold really true for yourself?
He just cared. He cared immensely about other people.
And how do you do that in a world where a lot of people don't care?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all do it with people who are around us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you contribute to getting things done, to being an effective operator?
So I guess I've been through a big transition in my life where before I was very scrappy and did everything on my own, because I didn't have any money in my whole life.
Yeah.
And now that I've achieved some level of financial success, I've restructured my entire life to focus more specifically on certain things that I can have an impact on. So it's been a big change in terms of how I operate on a day-to-day basis and how I think, the number of decisions I make, all that kind of stuff. Like when I was building my company Braintree, I may have made 50 decisions in a given day. And now I'm going to make one, because I'm thinking of much more longer-term projects. And so it's just a different mental model of how to contemplate getting things done.
Do you have a framework for making better decisions? I remember I'm reading the biography of Rockefeller, and he says he really took time to make a decision, but once you make a decision, it's go and just execute. And for me, that was really telling, because he separates thinking and execution.
Yeah.
And sometimes you make a decision, but then you're still thinking about it. So I was just curious.
I'm actually reading his biography right now as well.
Yeah,
funny.
It's really good.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah,
I
was this is so long, 35 hours. No way.
I know exactly.
This. And then now I'm I have 16 hours left, and I was wow, this is fast.
Cool. I'm 6 hours in.
Yeah, it's I really like that because you have so much dead time, and you can just use that,
squeeze it in everywhere,
and,
right?
I've listened to a lot of podcasts and Ferris, which is awesome, but long term, I feel I can learn more. It's and you can learn from these people. There's so many great people.
I agree.
What are you most proud of? or one thing you're proud of?
Yeah. I'm proud to be a father. I have 3 kids, and I'm proud that they're good kids. That they care about people around them. That they generally try to do well in life. It's tough to be a father. It's tough to be a parent.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So it's satisfying to see children doing well in life.
And how do you get focused? Like, because there's so many things, and as you become now more successful, there's probably more and more people coming to you with interesting projects, and like, how do you make sure that you really focus on like what matters to you, and
Exactly.
like you do that on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, totally. Sadly, I have to say no a lot. I wish I didn't,
Right.
because I mean, if I reverse myself and put myself in the shoes where I was before, it would have been nice to have help along the way.
Yeah.
And now it's so tough. I have to say no so many times, and I have to do it to stay focused. But I really regret that I do. I wish I had more time to give on everything I want to give on.
And do you have a system in like how you maintain and build relationships? Because in this world that we live in, I feel like sometimes everybody's connected to everyone.
Yeah.
But like engagement is sometimes missing. So I would be curious to know like how you create engagement with people and how you build systems. Where you sort of stay in touch with a lot of people, but where it's not like where you people BCC someone, or where it's so personal to some extent.
Yeah. I maintain a really tight circle of friends and associates. I just don't have time to manage that many relationships.
Yeah.
And so it's
it's like an inner circle.
It's pretty limited, pretty tight. I just don't have time to get that deep with that many people.
And when you look at other entrepreneurs now that you're also investing, like, what's something that for you that makes you think, okay, this is something like where that stands out? This is like a quality. Is it like being resourceful, or being like persistent, or is there one characteristic that stands out?
Well, I guess I'm biased towards this because I guess I came from this path. When I was 21, I burned the boats. Entrepreneurship was my only path to life. There's no option for me to go back and get a job.
Right.
So I had to make it work.
Okay.
And so I try to find that other entrepreneurs where they are just dead set on what they want to do, and there's no other option. Like, you can't, failure's not an option.
Right.
So I like that kind of determination and persistence that no matter what comes their way, they'll figure it
Until
out.
you like succeed, you make it happen until it works.
Yeah, they'll figure it out.
And like financial independence, how has that like meaning changed for you? Like 10 years ago, and then as you had more resources to do.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like, you look at the future and you think, oh, if I have this, then everything is,
Exactly.
if I have money, and then you have that, and you're like, wow, like that wasn't true, the way I thought about that.
Exactly. So I'd say 2 things. One is my grandfather was very influential in raising me. He grew up in the Depression, and he was extremely frugal, the most frugal person I've ever met, and I have a lot of his attributes. And so money to me is a tool. One, that buys me time. I can get help on certain things. I don't have to dedicate time anymore to those things. I have more time in life to do things I care about.
Yeah.
And 2, I've just cleared up mental cycles that otherwise would be devoted to time, to money-related matters. So ultimately, hopefully it allows me to be productive in society, to focus on the endeavors I'm looking at.
And so you said, like, when you were 21, or when you were younger, even, you made this choice of like helping other people. But then how did you like go about like defining that mission? Because, you could have done so many different things. Maybe that also involves like the founding moment of Braintree. Because that's what I find really interesting, like how things started, and like in society, like that's almost taken for granted, and then it's just, it's there, and then now we're going to grow it. So like the founding moment, I'd be really interested sort of your personal life and the mission, and then maybe the first company.
I mean, so like at 21, I made that goal, and then basically it took me a decade to figure out what I'm doing at the OS Fund. I thought about it all the time.
Constantly.
Exactly.
Right.
So I learned more about technology and the future of the human race, and like what's possible, and I was going through my own changes in terms of what I believed, and so like just slow iterative process for a decade.
And like what I'm also curious about, how do you make sure that you strike this balance between staying in the moment and like really almost like this sense of carpe diem, but also at the same time being sustainable and thinking about the long term as if you would live forever. So like, how do you live as if you would live forever, but also as if you would die tomorrow, Which I think is like the perfect balance.
I agree with you. I wish you had it's very tough. I wish that you'd shed some wisdom on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or is there anything when you feel like during the day or when things are not working, like where you have something that pulls you back towards getting more focus and, like a counter spell or some sort of like, something like, it's like when the stock market drops and then the Fed pumps money just to push it up,
No, but like I guess being an entrepreneur it was a pretty tough decade, 20 to 30-ish. I feel remarkably good about life right now. I feel peaceful and determined and excited, and I guess I've matured a bit in terms of I don't weather the downs as much as I used to, and I'm much okay to roll with the chaos and flux in. So I've just found a nice place in life that I didn't really have before.
And is there like any story sort of that has really shaped your life, like an anecdote or something you can share?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite, and this is my driving principle in life, is we all have the ability to author our life, our existence. And so I have a mural I commissioned a spray paint artist to come in, and Harry Potter's on one side, Gandalf the Grey's on the other side, the staff and Wander pointing up in the middle, and it's exploding with energy. I did this for my kids because they related to the characters. And there's an open book with blank pages and a pen, and above it in graffiti it says dream. And the idea is that J.K. Rowling and J.R. Tolkien used the tools of creation of words to create worlds. And so the worlds you and I have inhabited, right? And so the idea is that we can use tools of creation like computer software and genomics and AI and robotics and so on, and we can literally author worlds in how we live. And that's true for being an entrepreneur. So when you start a company, you get to determine who you hire, what product you build, what culture you create, your very reason for existence. You literally have the ability to author your life. And so that's been my driving principle of, I guess, my whole life. That's how I've always understood myself and the world around me. That freedom to just do what you think you can creatively get done.
Right. And what does freedom mean for you?
The ability to author blank pages in a book.
And when you started out your entrepreneurial journey, was there any doubt or like thinking, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, or were you really in that sense like, okay, this is what I decided to do, and now I'm going to do it?
I mean, there was some second guessing at times, but no, like I felt good about the decisions we were at. Sometimes I regretted decisions that we had made along that way, but no, I just knew that it was going to be a path and a process, and hopefully in the end it would work.
Is there any like operational hack or something like a life hack that you like use, or do you don't believe in those things?
No, I do. I love the story of the 5 monkeys. You heard this about assumptions? So 5 monkeys are in a cage. There's a basket of bananas up top, and there's a ladder that goes up. So one monkey tries to go up and get the bananas, and that monkey and all the other monkeys get sprayed with cold water.
Right.
So the monkey tries it again, that gets sprayed with cold water. So now they know if they try to go up the ladder, the bananas, they get sprayed with cold water. So now if a monkey tries to go up, they grab the monkey and pull it back down. So they pull one monkey out, put a new monkey in, the monkey says, hey, like there's bananas. So it goes to try to go up the ladder, and all the monkeys grab it and pull it back down because they don't want to get sprayed with cold water.
Yeah. So
then you replace all the monkeys. So finally you have 5 monkeys in there, none of which have ever been sprayed by cold water. All they know is the behavior is grab the monkey if he tries to go up the ladder.
Okay, wow.
And so the moral of the story is question your assumptions. Those monkeys had no idea why they were doing that. It was just a learned behavior over a period of time. And so the thing I love to do, I guess, in building my own companies, but also in my own life, is question every assumption. Understand why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Thank you for listening, and see you next time.